Hare Krishna. So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to once again serve all the devotees at our ISKCON Calgary congregation. And today I would be speaking on a very wonderful pastime from Lord Chaitanya's life. The last time when I was giving class, that was last month, I had briefly spoken about how Lord Chaitanya had revealed the universal form to Advaita Acharya, and Advaita Acharya was dancing, seeing the universal form. So there was a request that I speak on that. So the pastime is the reference to this pastime is briefly given in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. This is where the activities of Lord Chaitanya with relationship to Advaita Acharya is being explained. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by this time is a young man, and he has come back from the holy town of Gaya, where he has met his spiritual master, Ishwarapuri Maharaj. And now Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is revealing to the world one of the most important reasons for his descent. He is performing Harinam Sankirtan, requesting all the devotees to come together and united together, all of them performs Sankirtan, the chanting of the holy names of Krishna in the form of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. So this is the early days of the congregational chanting of the holy names of Krishna, propagated personally by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now there are many devotees who are associating with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and who are assisting him in this mission, who are also taking benefit of Lord Chaitanya's association during these Sankirtan activities. Some of the most famous devotees are Advaita Acharya, there is Nityananda Prabhu, there is Gadadhar, and Jagadananda is there, Sridhar, Shuklambar, and so many others. Vakreshwar Pandit is there, Murari Gupta is there. The brothers of Srivas Thakur are there, including Srivas Thakur. So all of these devotees, the names of whom I have just taken, have been mentioned in the biographies of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The most prominent biography of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu within our movement, within our society, ISKCON, is the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Srila Prabhupada had at one point of time stopped translating the Srimad Bhagavatam so that he could translate the Chaitanya Charitamrita. He wanted the world to have the Chaitanya Charitamrita. And he was especially very eager to have it printed as early as possible. So within our movement, we have this wonderful story, this amazing story of how 17 volumes of this epic was printed within 2 months, something unheard of in the 1970s. It was as if an impossible goal had been achieved when the Chaitanya Charitamrita was printed and the BVT made it available. So Srila Prabhupada was very pleased when the devotees made this effort to publish the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The Bhaktivedanta Book Trust took so much effort to do that. Another very well-known biography of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu amongst the Gaudiya Vaishnavas is the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And we have the Chaitanya Bhagavat is written by by Vrindavan Das Thakur. And it is in the Bengali language. And Srila Prabhupada's spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj, wrote his commentary on the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So we have the commentary of Srila Prabhupada on the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and we have the commentary of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj on the Chaitanya Bhagavat. Now, coming to the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Charitamrita was written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, and he very briefly mentions this pastime of Lord Chaitanya revealing the universal form to Advaita Acharya. In fact, he only references it in one verse. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adi Leela, where the youthful pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu are revealed, have been mentioned. In the 10th chapter, Kaviraj Goswami writes, Shachi ke prema dana tabe advaita milana advaita paila vishwarupa darashana. So, Shachi ke prema dana tabe advaita milana. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he delivered the love of Krishna to his mother Sachi Devi after she had some reconciliation with Advaita Acharya. So that is a different pastime. We are not going to go into that. And then Kaviraj Goswami says, when this reconciliation was taking place during a meeting between Advaita Acharya and Sri Chachi Devi, he says, Vrindavan Das Thakur says that he is the same Advaita Acharya who later had a vision of the Lord's universal form. Advaita Paila Vishwarupa Darshan. So this is very poetic on behalf of Kaviraj Goswami, and it shows his sharp intelligence too. Sachi Mata was a little unhappy with the fact that her elder son, Lord Chaitanya's elder brother, whose name was Vishwarup, had taken sannyas quite early in life. Lord Chaitanya was just 5 years old and Vishwarup was 14 years old. So being unhappy, she would feel uncomfortable interacting with Advaita Acharya. And Lord Chaitanya wanted to reveal that one should not feel uncomfortable in the presence of devotees, because devotees only bring auspiciousness in one's lives, especially devotees like Advaita Acharya. So he created a situation where Mother Sachi could reconcile, could bring herself to accept the fact that Advaita Acharya was not responsible for Vishwarup taking sannyas. And here Kaviraj Goswami, he kind of makes this, there's this play with words or on words. Word play is here when he says Advaita Paila Vishwarupa Darshan. So Vishwarupa Darshan, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's elder brother's name is Vishwarup too. And he's, Kaviraj Goswami is connecting these two pastimes within this verse of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So Sachi Devi and Advaita Acharya have a history which is connected to the eldest son of Sachi Mata, whose name is Vishwarup. And Advaita Acharya and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also have a connection with the same word Vishwarup, in the sense that Lord Chaitanya later on revealed the universal form. The universal form in Sanskrit is called as Vishwarup. Vishwa means universe and Rupa means form, so the universal form. Kaviraj Goswami does not go into any details about this pastime. In fact, there are many pastimes of Lord Chaitanya's early days, his childhood, then his boyhood, and his youth, his youthful life. There are many pastimes that have just been mentioned briefly in a verse or two by Kaviraj Goswami. The reason is Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami had already was already aware that these pastimes have been described in great detail by Vrindavan Das Thakur in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So he did not want to repeat those pastimes out of respect for Vrindavan Das Thakur. Since Vrindavan Das Thakur had personally, he had received all the data as a young boy growing up. Vrindavan Das Thakur as a young boy, he lived in Navadvip, and growing up, he associated with many intimate devotees of Lord Gauranga, who in great detail had told him stories about Lord Chaitanya's activities of his birth, his childhood, his boyhood, and his youthful life. So Vrindavan Das Thakur had collected all of that data, and he had put it in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. And he had, Vrindavan Das Thakur had just given a summary of Lord Chaitanya's pastimes in Jagannath Puri, a brief summary. So we find that that Lord Gauranga's pastimes in Jagannath Puri, including his travel to Jagannath Puri and within Jagannath Puri, and then those 6 years of his travel to South India, has been very elaborately explained in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Vrindavan Das Thakur gives brief references to these pastimes. So this is the connection between the two books, Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Charitamrita, in relation to Lord Gauranga's pastimes. So the present pastime that we are discussing today is elaborately described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So Lord Gauranga had just created this. He had made news in Navadvip. Very recently, he had taken a huge Sankirtan party to the house of the town's magistrate, who in those times was called as the Qazi. His name was Chand Qazi. So Lord Chaitanya had led thousands upon thousands of devotees chanting Hare Krishna to the house of Chand Qazi to submit a petition that Chand Qazi should allow the devotees to freely chant Hare Krishna and should not create any hurdles in this effort of the devotees. And Chand Qazi had agreed. So this had become the world news, or it had become the news of the town. And many devotees are now very freely associated with Lord Gauranga when Lord Chaitanya was chanting Hare Krishna. So what would happen is that being in their presence and having these deep experiences of feeling the presence of Krishna, Lord Chaitanya was in the mood of a devotee. So he would feel this deep connection with Krishna. He would feel the presence of Krishna. So Lord Gauranga, in this association of devotees, in this congregation of devotees, he found it very stimulating to remember Krishna. And because of this stimulation, he would constantly float, or his heart and his mind would be floating in the ocean of separation from Krishna. Or in this, he would be constantly remembering Krishna. So he would be sometimes aware of his external surroundings and sometimes unaware. So he would be in and out of awareness of the external world. So when he would, and this was happening quite frequently. Now, all the devotees were very, very inspired to see these transformations and the symptoms in Lord Chaitanya. And somehow or the other, by the arrangement of the Lord's potency, they would be, despite the fact that they would be spending so much time with Lord Gauranga, practically he would be surrounded by huge crowds every day. Despite that fact, everyone's personal needs was being taken care of. And no one could understand how that was happening. No one could figure out how it was happening. It was as if there was some mystical potency that was helping all the devotees, or that was connecting all the devotees and maintaining all the devotees in their effort to associate with Lord Gauranga and to chant the holy names of Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And devotees would practically be climbing on each other so that they could have a vision, just one glimpse of Lord Gauranga, would simply be crying tears in remembrance of Krishna. Lord Chaitanya would be so moved thinking about Krishna that his eyes would be always saturated with tears of love of Krishna, and there would be constant flow of tears. It was as if a river or two rivers were flowing from his eyes. Sorry, did I say ears? Sorry, it is eyes. There would be tears in the eyes of Lord Gauranga, and his eyes would always be filled up with these tears of love of Krishna. And sometimes Kaviraj Goswami describes, and other authors describe, that it was as if the holy rivers Ganga and Yamuna were flowing from Lord Gauranga's eyes and down his cheeks. And when Lord Gauranga would experience Krishna so deeply, uh, uh, there were many moments where he would just swoon, he would just fall down unconscious, and his whole body would erupt with various symptoms, and he would become so agitated and so immersed in Krishna that he couldn't keep still. And having already fallen onto the ground, he would start rolling in the dust. And when the devotees saw this, they couldn't hold back their emotions. They would all start crying, and they would call out to Lord Krishna, and they would call out to Lord Hari, and they would just take shelter of the holy names of Krishna. Now, Vrindavan Das Thakur says that such exhibition of love for Krishna was rarely seen or heard of in this material world. In fact, in the entire lifetime of Brahma, no one had heard of such exhibition of symptoms as was revealed by Lord Gauranga. And therefore, the Lord Gauranga is worshipped as the very embodiment of love for Krishna, the very embodiment of Krishna Prem. We have been taught by Srila Prabhupada through his teachings that Lord Chaitanya, in the mood of a devotee, would have the feelings for Krishna, just as Radharani would have feelings for Krishna. In fact, Lord Gauranga is the combined form of Radha and Krishna. Say Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna, Nahi Anna. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is non-different from and is one with the combined form of Radha and Krishna. So even Lord Brahma had never had the fortune. Even Lord Brahma had never had the fortune to be blessed with being a witness to such happenings. Therefore, the residents of Navdvip, they were very, very fortunate that they could directly witness with their very own eyes these beautiful or these deep sentiments that Lord Gauranga would exhibit. When Lord Gauranga would fall down unconscious, and this could happen in any situation, sometimes he would be walking down the street and a breeze would hit him, or a breeze would touch him, not hit him, but touch him, or the fragrance of certain flowers would enter his nostrils, and that would make him remember the river Yamuna, or sometimes when he would see the river Ganga, then he would feel as if he was walking along the banks of the river Yamuna, and the breeze coming from the river would carry the aroma of the flowers with it, and Krishna would feel, sometimes it would be Ketaki flowers. In Bengal, people have gardenfuls of Ketaki flowers. So when that aroma would enter his nostrils, he would immediately remember the holy land of Vrindavan. He would remember the residents of Braj. And being in the mood of a devotee, he'd remember Krishna, who would always have this garland of forest flowers around his neck, which had the fragrance of which had so many different fragrances in it. And as soon as Lord Gauranga would be touched by these stimuli, he could fall unconscious onto the ground. And those devotees who were around him, at that point of time, they would be shocked, because it would happen all of a sudden. It was as if Lord Gauranga had turned to stone. He would just kind of just fall down. And then the devotees would stop doing Sankirtan, and they would pick up the transcendental body of Lord Gauranga and bring him back to the house of Srivas Thakur. Or they would bring him to the house of some other devotee whichever was nearby. Typically, they would bring him to the house of Srivas Thakur or Srivas Angan, the courtyard of Srivas Thakur's house. And having entered his courtyard, Srivas Thakur had a big courtyard, very huge courtyard. And hence, we always find the reference of Srivas Angan, or the courtyard of Srivas Thakur's house. We find that reference many a times in the Chaitanya Charitamrita and Chaitanya Bhagavat too. As soon as the devotees would enter Srivas Thakur's courtyard, they would bring Lord Chaitanya to the temple room of Srivas Thakur, and they would close all the doors to the courtyard so that they had some privacy. And there they would start doing kirtan. And when the sound of the Sankirtan, when the sound of the holy names of Krishna being chanted by the devotees would enter into the ears of Lord Chaitanya, Lord Gauranga would come back to external consciousness. And sometimes when he would come back to external consciousness, being in the mood of Krishna, being in the mood of a cowherd boy, he would stand up and he would look at all the devotees and he would say that I am Madan Gopal. I am the son of Mother Yashoda. I am Yashoda Dulal. And the devotees would be struck with wonder. And then all of a sudden, Lord Chaitanya would just change his mood. And then he would say, I am a devotee of Lord Krishna. I am simply an eternal servant of Lord Krishna. So there were so many various emotions that Lord Chaitanya would feel. On certain days, he would be in the mood of the damsels of Vrindavan. Or he would be remembering the cowherd girls of Shri Brajdham, Shri Vrindavan Dham. And he would be calling out to them, oh Gopi, Gopi, Gopi. And as he would be calling out to the cowherd girls of Vrindavan, the devotees would be chanting Hare Krishna. And when Krishna's name would enter his ear, immediately his heart would be overconquered. His heart would be overflowing with emotion. And he would, because he was thinking of the cowherd girls and calling out to them, and at that point of time, the name of Krishna would enter his heart, and his heart would overflow with various emotions. He would be thinking of Krishna with the perspective that Krishna had with a very Krishna had left Vrindavan. He had gone away from Vrindavan, becoming hard-hearted. Krishna had left behind the gopis who were constantly crying. So in that mood, sometimes he would be a little agitated and say that, why are you taking the name of that person who has cheated us? He stole away our heart, and now he has gone away from here, never to come back, never again take his name. And having said that, then he would, Lord Chaitanya would feel separation from Shri Vrindavan Dham and call out to Shri Vrindavan Dham, O Braj Dham, O Vrindavan, or he would call out to Mathura, O Mathura, or O Gokul, and various other names of various other forests of Vrindavan. On certain other days, he would be so overwhelmed. Lord Gauranga would be so overwhelmed, and tears would be constantly falling down his cheeks and flowing from his eyes, that he couldn't speak. And on those days, he would simply be writing in the dirt. He would be writing in the dust of Sri Navadvip Dham Krishna's names or other names of the gopis with his fingers. He would write that because he could not speak. On other days, he would just draw a beautiful form of a person standing in the threefold bending form. playing a flute, and having drawn that threefold bending form, his tears would fall down onto the earth, and they would completely drown that form, and the form would be lost. And no longer seeing the form, he would get very agitated, and he would cry out in great pain. Oh, now I have fallen into this dense forest of wild animals, which is full of lions and tigers, and there is no hope for me, because Krishna's form was no longer visible. So Lord Chaitanya was constantly floating in and out of these various moods of remembrances of Krishna. And the devotees were witness, uh, a, a large number of devotees were witness to Lord Gauranga's manifestation of these symptoms. Vrindavan Das Thakur says that even Lord Brahma and the host of demigods, they constantly pray for the favor of witnessing these ecstatic manifestations of Lord Gauranga. Yet, only the devotees of Lord Chaitanya in Navadvip were fortunate enough to be able to witness these pastimes. Lord Gauranga would be spending very little time at home in these during these days, because he would be constantly roaming around Navadvip, or he would be visiting various devotees, and he would sit down with all those devotees and he would chant Hare Krishna from morning through afternoon, or morning through evening. However, being the apple of his mother's eye, being so very dear to his mother Sachi Devi, he would try with great effort to also spend sufficient time at home. So somehow or the other, Lord Gauranga would keep everyone happy. Navadvip at this point of time was the whole town and the residents of Navadvip. They were having, they did not realize that, but they were having the best moments of their life, where Lord Gauranga would be around them or with them, chanting the holy names of Krishna. Just try and imagine this situation where all of us are with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and we can see him perform Sankirtan. So we can just imagine how it could be. The Chaitanya Bhagavat and Chaitanya Charitamrita reveals how wonderful it was, and the residents of Navadvip were extremely fortunate that they were participating in these pastimes. One day, all the devotees had come together and they were chanting Hare Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya, he had taken all of them, and he was doing Nagar Sankirtan. He was traveling along the roads, the streets of Navadvip, and he was doing Nagar Sankirtan. So some devotees were with Lord Gauranga, and a few devotees, they were at Srivas Thakur's, they were with Srivas Thakur in Srivas Thakur's courtyard. So Advaita Acharya was also there, and Advaita Acharya became overwhelmed with the mood of the residents of Vrindavan, what is called as Vraja Bhava. So he became very much overcome by that mood. He became very much immersed in that mood of Braja Bhav. So what is Braja Bhav? Braja Bhav is when Bhava means the mood or the emotion, and Braja means Vrindavan. So the mood of Vrindavan is that Krishna is the only attractive object for each and every entity. Krishna is their very life and soul. So that is the mood of Vrindavan. And the desire to serve Krishna is the only emotion that is there within the heart of the residents of Vrindavan. Now, this desire is expressed in various ways. Sometimes it is expressed by people taking care of their families so that their children, the cowherd boys, can go out and play with Krishna. This desire to serve Krishna is expressed in terms of, is expressed by the elders in Vrindavan by carrying out their occupational duty so that Krishna and the children at home, the cowherd boys and the cowherd girls, they could be taken care of. So I'm just trying to explain that service unto Krishna has multifarious forms. It has got there are unlimited ways in which you can serve Krishna, because many a times I have been asked to clarify that does service unto Krishna mean just personal service of Krishna. So the acharyas have explained that service to Krishna for practicing devotees is done by following in the footsteps of the residents of Vrindavan. Vrajavadhu Varga Upasana. So the Upasana, the way of worship of the Vrajavasis, the residents of Vrindavan, that is the mood in which, or that is the way in which we have to try to serve Krishna in our devotional practices. So the elderly cows in Vrindavan, they take care of their calves very lovingly because they know that Krishna and Balaram would be taking out the calves to the pasturing grounds along with their friends. So this is how the cows in Vrindavan serve Krishna. The various streams and rivulets in Vrindavan, they serve Krishna by flowing very, very attractively, making this wonderful sound and being extremely fresh, ultimately to pour all of the water into the river Yamuna. So there are so many ways that the residents of Vrindavan serve Krishna. So that is the mood of Vrindavan. That is Brajabhav, as explained by the Goswamis and Acharyas of our Gaudiya Vaishnav Parampara, especially Srila Prabhupada. So Advaita Acharya was in that mood, and he was specifically in the mood of a cowherd girl, Gopi Bhav. So in Braj Bhav, there's so many bhavs, and there are so many moods of worshipping Krishna. And one of the moods is Gopi Bhav, or the mood in which the cowherd damsels of Vrindavan serve Krishna. So the cowherd damsels, or the gopis, they serve Krishna. One of the ways in which they serve Krishna is by performing dance for him. And Advaita Acharya on this day was in that mood. So he began dancing, and everyone was amazed to see how gracefully Advaita Acharya was dancing. Now, at this point of time, Advaita Acharya was a senior citizen, basically. And the moves that he was making when he was dancing, the various mudras, the various gestures that he was making was so endearing. It was so devotional that everyone was amazed seeing him dance. And this inspired all the devotees to chant with great feeling. And as the devotees were chanting so joyfully and with great feeling, Advaita Acharya continued on dancing with more renewed vigor and more energy. He just went on dancing. And the devotees were just clapping their hands. And typically, if one is not immersed in one's art, then one gets influenced by the reaction of the audience. Typically, however, if one is completely immersed in one's service and what one is doing or performing, then that immersion, that involvement with the task that one is doing, makes us keeps us unaware of the surroundings, because it is one pointed focus. So Advaita Acharya was dancing, and his heart was filled with joy and with elation. At the same time, there was extreme humility in every gesture that he was exhibiting. And there was a deep pain of separation from Krishna too. So because of this deep separation that he was feeling, he fell down to the ground, practically motionless, and then he took a straw of grass in his teeth. In those days, even the towns, they had a lot of greenery around them, and there was a rural element to the cities and towns too. There would be cow sheds and cows, and there would be orchards and so on and so forth, even in the big cities and towns. And this would be quite, there would be a lot of such parks, and there would be a lot of such gardens and orchards around the entire town. So in those days, whenever one would, there was this custom, or you could say it was something that people knew to be all right. And what was that? This activity that whenever you would feel very, very helpless, and you would feel very, very humble, then you would take a piece of straw in your mouth and hold it between your teeth. That was the culture of humility in society in those days. Now, in today's times, we may really not understand it, because nowhere around us we see, or we have been trained in that kind of culture. Now, there are various reasons as to why that is considered to be an act of humility. Nonetheless, this is considered to be an act of humility and utter helplessness too. Utter helplessness. So Advaita Acharya had taken a piece of straw, and he was rolling intoxicated on the ground. So he was very, his heart was brimming with joy, and at the same time there was extreme pain of separation too. Seeing this, the devotees touched his feet, and they started loudly chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and slowly he was pacified. And as soon as he was pacified, he would jump up on his feet, and he would again start dancing. And the devotees were out of love. They could not stop themselves. It was so forceful that they could not stop themselves from chanting Hare Krishna in rhythm, or keeping rhythm with his dance. So that is what the devotees did. For many, many hours, this just went on. And finally, devotees were really exhausted. So, led by Srivas Thakur, the devotees, they held on to Advaita Acharya's feet and begged him to kindly be pacified and sit down in one place. So Advaita Acharya, he sat down, and he controlled his emotions, and he looked at all the devotees as if in a daze. But he realized that the devotees were tired, so he controlled his emotions, and he just sat down very quietly. So since the devotees had chanted for such a long time, they felt that they all needed a bath in the river Ganga. So all of the devotees, they asked Advaita Acharya to come along, but he said that he would like to sit quietly. So all of them, they left for their bath. And when he was all alone, since there were no longer any devotees around him, the self-control that he was exhibiting was overwhelmed by the emotions that was surging within him, and he was so filled with this mood of separation that he immediately fell onto the ground and he started rolling onto the ground. And again, tears began to roll down his eyes. So no one was around there, and he was just in Shiva's Angan, in the courtyard of Shiva's. Lord Gauranga, meanwhile, had come back to his house. And the devotees who were with Lord Gauranga had gone back to their homes. So Lord Gauranga, he understood. He is a super soul in everyone's heart. He is the Sarvagyata. He is the Sarvagnya. He is the all-knowing Lord. So he could understand that Advaita is all alone, and he is very intensely feeling the separation from Krishna. So Lord Chaitanya was taking rest in his house. He immediately stands up and he goes to Advaita Acharya's house. Now, for those of us, if we have been to Bengal, we know that Lord Chaitanya's house is not so far from, it is just a few minutes walk from Advaita Acharya's house and Srivas Angan. And Srivas Thakur's house and Advaita Acharya's house are right next to each other. So they are kind of neighbors. So Lord Chaitanya, he immediately comes to see Advaita Acharya. And he finds Advaita Acharya rolling in the ground in Srivas Thakur's courtyard. So he comes inside the courtyard, and he, with his beautiful lotus hands, he touches Advaita Acharya, and he pacifies him. And then Lord Gauranga, he makes Advaita Acharya stand up, and he leads him into Srivas Thakur's house and into the temple room. And then he closes the door behind him. So it is just Lord Chaitanya and Advaita Acharya in the temple room of Srivas. And Lord Chaitanya smiles at Lord Chaitanya smiles at Advaita Acharya, and he says, "Oh Acharya, please listen to me. What is your desire? What is it that you want? What is it that should be done?" And Advaita Acharya says, "My dear Lord, you are the essence of all the Vedas." So there are various meanings to this. It is like you know everything. Everything concludes in you. You are the goal of all the processes. So you are the essence of all the Vedas. Therefore, I only want you. What else is there to want? Lord Gauranga laughs. And he laughs quietly. And he replies, "Well, here I am, Advaita. What is it that you want?" And Advaita Acharya says, "My dear Lord, I just want to serve you life after life." "Yes, Advaita, here I am. What else do you want?" And Advaita Acharya says, "Yes, that is true. You're here in person. You are the absolute truth. However, within my heart, I have a desire to see your mystic opulence." The Lord softly said, "Tell me, Advaita, what is it that you want to see? What do you desire?" Advaita said, "My Lord, I intensely desire to see what Arjuna saw long, long ago." As soon as he had spoken these words, Advaita Acharya saw himself on this huge battlefield, and he saw that there was a chariot in the middle of this raging battlefield. Millions upon millions of soldiers were engaged in combat all around the chariot. and sitting on the chariot, or sitting there, holding the reins of the chariot, was the Supreme Lord in his beautiful blackish four-handed form, holding the conch, the mace, the lotus, and the disc in his four hands. And as Advaita Acharya saw this form, he beheld the universal form of Krishna. All the planets and stars, the sun, the moon, the mountains, the rivers, the oceans, the forests, all the various species of life, all the various planetary systems, all the siddhis, the matras, everything that one could imagine and beyond, he saw that wondrous manifestation of Krishna. And then he saw Arjuna with folded palms, bending on his knees, praying before the universal form and praising the universal form and offering prayers with folded hands. Advaita Acharya saw the universal form with millions and millions of eyes. He saw millions and millions upon millions of mouths and tongues. And there was such fire coming out from those mouths that was annihilating all that is inauspicious around. And then he saw all the blasphemers, and he saw the people, those who were the sinful demons. He saw they were being sucked into that immense conflagration within the mouth, within the millions and millions of mouths. And they were all being consumed. The fault finders, the blasphemers, those who perpetuate violence, unnecessary violence upon others, they were all being burned in the flames of the mouth of Lord Gauranga. Advaita Acharya was being blessed by this special mercy being shown by the Lord. And he could see this beautiful form. Seeing this form, Advaita was so moved. This form was so very intense, and it was Advaita Acharya also felt so sheltered, and he felt so secure. He had tears in his eyes, tears of ecstasy, and there was such love that he was experiencing within his heart for the Lord. And falling to his knees in great humility, he begged the Lord that lifetime after lifetime he could have the Lord's association, the Lord being his master and he being the servant of the Lord. Meanwhile, Nityananda Prabhu, who had also been performing Sankirtan with Lord Gauranga, he was roaming about the streets of Navadvip by himself. And within his heart, Nityananda Prabhu had a news flash. Something very wonderful is happening in Srivas Angan, in Srivasa's house. And this news flash hit him with such divine bliss that Lord Nityananda understood that he has to be there. So immediately, Lord Nityananda traveled with great speed to the house of Srivas Thakur, and he found it completely empty. And as if being drawn by a magnet, he quickly went into the temple room and he opened the doors. Now remember, the door had been locked by Lord Gauranga. Now there are various references. There are two. Now the Chaitanya Bhagavat says that Nityananda Prabhu opened the doors to the temple room. Rather, it says that he went into the temple room. Whereas there are some narrations where it says that Lord Chaitanya, who was revealing the universal form to Advaita Acharya, personally opened the door for Lord Nityananda to enter. These are certain amazing pastimes, and I'm not even going to try and attempt to describe how it happened, other than how it has been described in the Chaitanya Bhagavat. So Nityananda Prabhu, he enters the temple room and he sees the beautiful form, the universal form. And this is where actually this this description that is there in the Chaitanya Bhagavat was what I remembered during my previous class last month, where the mention of the universal form was there. This universal form that is being revealed is making Arjuna, when he saw the universal form, he folded his hands, and he was seeking blessings from the universal form. There are so many ways that the universal form has affected so many people, so many devotees. As followers of Lord Gauranga, the description given by Vrindavan Das Thakur is very sweet, very, very sweet, of how the universal form was revealed to Advaita Acharya and what was the experience of Advaita Acharya. So Lord Nityananda comes in and he sees the beautiful form, this limitless form, this unlimitedly expansion of everything that exists, and beyond that too, an unlimited expansive form. So he sees that. What Lord Nityananda does is he shuts the door behind him carefully, and then he falls down prostrated in front of the universal form like a stick, like a danda, offering dandavat pranam. He offers his obeisances and he closes his eyes, and the Lord speaks. Because this is amazing. Lord Nityananda is an avadhut, remember. For those of you who know what an avadhut means, well, you can understand what I'm speaking about. And for those who don't know what an avadhut means, basically an avadhut is someone that is always testing our rational understanding of the world. Their behavior is so uncommon that one's rational understanding of the world is challenged, not because of disbelief, but just because it's so amazing. The activities of an avadhut, and especially Nityananda avadhut, are so amazing that the only way devotee or devotees in those times they could contain their happiness was giving up their rational thinking. They would just immerse themselves, seeing Lord Nityananda talk or dance or act. His behavior was so attractive. So here is Lord Nityananda, the avadhut, offering prostrated obeisances. So Lord Gauranga, he says, "Arise, O Nityananda. You are more dear to me than my very own life. You know who I am. You know everything about me. You are all-knowing. Anyone who is attached to you in loving devotion, that is my own man. That is my own person. No one is dearer to me than you. And anyone who tries to see any differences between you and Advaita will never gain the proper knowledge for understanding either the Supreme Lord or myself in this incarnation." When Lord Nityananda and Advaita, they hear this, and they're hearing it from the mouth of Lord Gauranga, who is revealing the universal form. So practically they are hearing it from the universal form. Both of them are so happy that they begin to dance jubilantly. And when we just heard about Advaita Acharya's dancing, and Nityananda Prabhu is another amazing dancer. So both of them started dancing. And Lord Chaitanya, he responded with a thunderous voice saying, "Just look at yourselves." Lord Chaitanya was so much enjoying this as he was revealing the universal form. Lord Nityananda and Lord Advaita, overwhelmed with joy, they started glorifying the Lord with beautiful prayers. as they were dancing with the universal form being revealed in front of them. And the universal form that was being revealed to Lord Nityananda and Advaita Acharya, the personality who was revealing that is Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya was very benevolently smiling down upon the two of them with great appreciation. Lord Nityananda and Lord Advaita Acharya did not speak to anyone about these pastimes. It is only by the grace of the Supreme Lord that later on Vrindavan Das Thakur could reveal these pastimes. So, Vrindavan Das Thakur says, he concludes this narration by saying that one cannot develop love for Krishna by material means. Only by sincerely calling out to Krishna can one eventually chant Krishna's names purely. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. In addition, one may attain this state of perfect joy easily if one hears with implicit faith the narration of Sri Chaitanya exhibiting his universal form to Advaita Acharya and Nityananda Prabhu. So I'll stop here. I think it is 7:40 there. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.